Jackie Bingham models a Jantzen swimsuit by the Lucky Horseshoe Palm, Silver Springs, Florida. 20th century. In the late 1940s, swimwear fashion in America was changing fast. Jackie Bingham's stylish pose by the famous Lucky Horseshoe Palm captured the spirit of post-war optimism, when leisure and new styles became a part of daily life. Men and women in 1940s attire enjoy a tavern in Southside Chicago. 20th century. During the 1940s, lively taverns in Chicago's South Side were gathering places for music, laughter, and escape. Friends would dress their best, unwind after long work days, and create lasting memories together. Mr. and Mrs. Linda Labb, with children in their new home, Wallagrass, Maine. 20th century. In 1940, the Labb family celebrated the hope of a fresh start in a newly built home. This scene shows how families in rural America were working hard to rebuild their lives after the Great Depression. American model poses in an undersuit, rubber swimsuit. 20th century. The 1940s saw unusual fashion experiments like the undersuit, rubber swimsuit, designed for both comfort and style. Although it never became a trend, it marked a playful and innovative era in American swimwear history. Construction workers rest at Soldier's Joy Cafe near Camp Blanding, Stark, Florida. 20th century. In 1940, construction workers building military camps would take breaks at local cafes. These moments of rest offered comfort and camaraderie before the hard work of preparing for America's entry into World War II. Nighttime dance during a play party at a farmhouse, McIntosh County, Oklahoma. 20th century. Traditional play parties were a highlight in rural communities. In the 1940s, neighbors would gather, dance, and celebrate together, finding joy and relief from the everyday hardships of the era. Lynn Burry, actress, relaxes by the pool in swimwear. 20th century Hollywood stars like Lynn Burry became style icons for millions. Her poolside moments were photographed to inspire glamour, beauty, and the dream of a better life in post-war America. Relief family lives in a shack at a dump. Herrin, Illinois. 20th century. The harsh reality of the 1940s meant some families struggled to survive. In Herrin, Illinois, a family lived in a makeshift shack at a dump, highlighting the deep effects of poverty during the Great Depression's aftermath. Shoeshine workers lunch at a wheelbarrow hot dog stand, New York. 20th century. Young shoeshine boys in 1947 made their own ways to eat and rest, even turning a wheelbarrow into a street-side hot dog stand. These scenes reflect the resourcefulness of working-class youth in post-war America. Woman fined for indecent exposure for walking off the sand in a swimsuit. Rockaway Beach. And 20th century strict dress codes were common in the 1940s. At Rockaway Beach, a woman was fined simply for walking off the sand in her swimsuit, reminding us how social rules have changed with time. Portuguese fisherman's family gathers around the radio. Provincetown, Massachusetts. 20th century for immigrant families in the 1940s. The radio was a link to the outside world. Portuguese fishermen's families would gather to listen to news and stories, building community and hope in uncertain times. Young baseball players training in Brooklyn, New York. 20th century youth baseball thrived in 1940s Brooklyn, as children dreamed of playing in the big leagues. These simple games were about teamwork, friendship, and the American spirit of ambition. Couple returns from shopping in a wagon. Ennisburg Falls, Vermont. 20th century rural life in the 1940s was slow and simple. Couples would shop for necessities, often traveling by wagon, enjoying peaceful moments away from the rush of modern cities. The Babcock family listens to war news on the radio. Rochester, New York, 20th century. During World War II, radios connected American families to news from distant battlefields. Families like the Babcocks would gather every evening, hoping for good news and feeling the weight of global conflict. Street scene in front of Durham, North Carolina warehouses. 20th century Durham's warehouses in the 1940s bustled with workers and commerce. The city's tobacco industry was booming, providing jobs but also showing the challenges of labor and urban growth. Pin-up model Meg Miles poses as a country girl. 20th century, the pin-up trend of the 1950s made models like Meg Miles icons of beauty and innocence. Her playful photos captured a sense of American youth, freedom, and changing attitudes toward women. High school students cross the street in Phoenix, Arizona, 20th century. In the 1940s, students in Phoenix embraced education and community every day. Moments like crossing the street during a school break reflected a hopeful, growing city. Greasers on a park bench, New York City. 20th century greasers were young rebels of the 1950s, known for their leather jackets and unique style. Seen on park benches in New York, they symbolized the rise of youth culture and street fashion. Florida highway patrol officer changes a woman's tire. 20th century small acts of kindness, like an officer changing a tire, were part of daily American life in the 1940s. Such moments remind us of the era's community spirit. Young man poses on a Harley motorcycle, United States. 20th century classic motorcycles, like Harley-Davidson, became symbols of freedom in the 1950s. A young man posing with his bike captured the dreams of adventure and American independence. Marilyn Monroe on a bench in the woods, 20th century. Before she became a superstar, Marilyn Monroe's photo shoots showed her natural charm and beauty. Early images from the 1950s hint at her coming rise as a pop culture legend. Billy Houghton makes a catch against the Bears. 20th century football stars like Billy Houghton inspired millions. His famous 1954 catch against the Bears showed the drama and skill that made American sports so exciting after the war. Betty Page in jungle Betty leopard swimsuit photo shoot. 20th century Betty Page, a 1950s pin-up legend, challenged conventions with her bold and playful style. Her Jungle Betty photos became icons of American fashion and self-expression. Tri Delta, sorority girls pose in a University of Texas dorm. 20th century college life in the 1940s meant close friendships and new beginnings. Tri Delta, sorority. Girls posing in their dorm show the fun and camaraderie of young women's lives on campus. Family rides. A dog-pulled sled on Park Avenue, New York City, 20th century. In the harsh winter of 1947, creative families turned snowy streets into playgrounds. Riding a dog-pulled sled down Park Avenue became a rare, joyful escape from city life. Crowds in Times Square await D-Day updates, New York, 20th century. On June 6, 1944, New Yorkers gathered to watch breaking news about the D-Day invasion. The excitement and fear in Times Square captured the tension of a world at war. Kitty Dolan, queen of outdoor fun, poses in the cold, New York City. 20th century beauty pageant winners like Kitty Dolan often faced unexpected challenges. In 1957, posing outside in freezing weather, she showed both glamour and the reality behind the crown. giant clown balloon at Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. New York, 20th century. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in the 1940s brought joy to millions. Iconic giant balloons, like the clown, became unforgettable symbols of holiday magic and American tradition. Woman poses with her new television set. United States, 20th century. By the late 1940s, televisions became prized possessions. In American homes, families celebrated their new TVs as symbols of modernity, bringing news and entertainment into everyday life. ABD Pudgy Stockton performs at Muscle Beach, California. 20th century. ABD Stockton broke stereotypes by showcasing women's strength. At Muscle Beach, in the 1940s, she inspired a generation of female athletes to embrace bodybuilding and fitness. Elvis Presley backstage with cousin Gene Smith. Dayton, Ohio, 20th century. A young Elvis Presley was photographed backstage in 1956, just as he was becoming a star. His early journey from humble beginnings to music legend began in moments like these. Donna Mae Brown and friend pose with towels. 20th century burlesque performers like Donna Mae Brown played with fashion and humor. In the 1950s, their casual backstage moments showed the fun side of America's entertainment world. Soldier bids farewell to wife at Penn Station before leaving for Europe. 20th century. World War II changed millions of lives. This emotional scene of a soldier saying goodbye at Penn Station captures the sacrifices and uncertainty faced by families during the war. Bodybuilder Gene Jansen flexes with wife Pat and son Kent. 20th century. The fitness craze of the late 1940s brought families together in new ways. Gene Jansen's proud pose with his family showed how health, strength, and family values were celebrated. Jane Mansfield poses with her dog. 20th century. Jane Mansfield was a 1950s movie star known for both glamour and her love for animals. Her affectionate pose with her dog added warmth to her public image. Rodeo clown entertains with mule. Quemado, New Mexico. 20th century. Rodeo clowns were not just for laughs. They kept crowds safe and entertained. In 1940, their clever animal tricks were highlights of small-town celebrations in America's West. Eve Meyer, pin-up model and actress in a glamorous pose. 20th century. Eve Meyer's elegance as a model set trends in the 1950s. Her glamorous photo shoots inspired new standards of beauty and confidence for American women. Students celebrate at a school dance. Orinda Elementary School, California. 20th century school dances were big events for American youth. In 1950, students at Orinda Elementary celebrated friendship, music, and the spirit of a hopeful generation. Soldiers repair a steam locomotive, Chicago. 20th century. In the final years of World War II, soldiers worked hard to keep the country running. Repairing steam locomotives in Chicago, they made sure vital supplies and people could travel safely. Jimi Hendrix, age 15, with first electric guitar, Seattle. 20th century. Long before he became a rock legend, Jimi Hendrix was just a teenager excited about music. His first guitar, in 1957, marked the beginning of a journey that changed music forever. Women outside Oxley's drugstore, Southington, Connecticut. 20th century. In 1942, women dressed in their best for a visit to the local drugstore. Simple moments like these show the small-town charm and social life of mid-century America. Betty Chloe Brasama, 1950s supermodel, known for her impossible waist. 20th century. Betty Brossamer set beauty standards in the 1950s with her unique figure. Her modeling career paved the way for modern supermodels and showed the changing image of American women.